What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
And I'm Jammin John.
And we have an album review for you. Since we are pretty much quarantined, social distancing, isolation, whatever your word for it is, sucks. But we're still going to review some albums because we love listening to music. And
we're rebels. If you see, we're only sitting like 3 feet apart instead of 6.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
So today we are reviewing the newest offering from Sweden's Hallas, the new album Conundrum. This came out on Napalm Records on the 13th of March, but this is actually a re-release because this album was self-released back in January 31st. They are, again, from Sweden, formed in 2011. This is their second full-length. They have one other EP, and these guys have a sound that harks back all throughout the 70s and quite a bit of the 80s.
Yeah, very well done. I'll tell you right now, I'm a giant fan of this album.
Yeah, it's very much in that same vein as bands like Graveyard or Rival Sons, but a lot more. Mm-hmm. Right away you get an intro that I'm not going to bitch about because I actually liked.
Yeah.
Starts off with a water dripping in a cave and a synth fade in and horror movie vibes right away.
80s horror movie.
John Carpenter, and maybe just a hint of Clockwork Orange in there. And then you're into the first track, Beyond Night and Day, and guitar work is already very reminiscent of just straight-up classic rock.
I compared it to Blue Oyster Cult.
Yes, I was right there with them. A little bit of Thin Lizzy in there.
There's a retro analog tone on, like, everything.
Everything.
And it's so well done.
Old school, spacey synths, and synths are a huge part of this album. Especially interplay between guitars and synths and vocals.
And normally I'm not a fan of synths in albums.
It depends how they're done.
It's got to be very well done in order for me to really dig it. And the dynamic that the synths add in this record, when they play off the guitars and such too, like it's such a rich, full sound.
This shifts between like very driving classic rock and then kind of spacey prog rock. It really reminded me a lot of Genesis, but like early Genesis with Peter Gabriel. And the vocals are kind of similar to Peter Gabriel too. There's like a little bit of a gruffness, but he's very tuneful, and there's lots of layered choruses, and it's just immense. Now, one gripe I can say right from the gate, I think the vocals are too much out front, at least early on in the album, because the guitar tone is really good. I love the classic, almost kind of clean tone.
Yeah, yep.
But it's really kind of gets overshadowed by how out front the vocals are. Now, later on the album, the guitars do pick up, but the early parts, sometimes the vocals just drown them out.
I wish it had been mixed the same way on the front half of the record as it was on the back half, because the guitar work, albeit meat and potatoes, and then the pocket, the guitar work is just fucking flawless.
It's lush, it's loaded with feel, but it's very proggy too, and that very classic prog. This song, actually, I compared it to like King Crimson, but they were jamming with the Cars. So it has like this 80s new wave thing going on, but at the same time it's like 70s prog, which you never really think those two would meet.
Yeah, so it's got the 80s upbeat to it, and then the 70s kind of like darker stoner, jam. On these songs as well, the intros and the outros of the songs flow superbly well, flawlessly into the next song, such as Beyond Night and Day, leading into the first track I starred on this album, Traitor, comes in with this dirty, like, swingy groove.
I love the bass line.
It's almost a little Sabbath-y.
It's got like a little bit of swagger to it. There's like this nice little groove, and instantly my head started bobbing. It may have been involuntary. It was that good.
When the vocals come in, it reminded me of Genesis and Phil Collins' solo work even.
Actually, I was reminded of Yes, but again, Yes drenched in like 80s new wave. It's, again, such an odd pairing, but it works so well. And this song delivers such a killer hook to it, especially in the chorus.
Yeah.
And this is where I really started getting to how they're using the synths creatively. Like, it's not just a layering thing. Sometimes they're doing lead parts. Sometimes they're doing a really cool harmony with the guitars. and they're just constantly feeding off of each other. It just ebbs and flows, and I love just how strong the songwriting is on this album in general.
Yes.
If you're a fan of guys like Rick Wakeman or John Lord, that very classic, almost kind of analog, but also kind of space rock, sort of synth-driven prog stuff, you're just going to love it.
Leads in next to a track called Tear of a Traitor, and once again, the outro of the previous song starts this song. There's just a huge lead-in and build-up in the front of this song, and then it just turns very melodic, kind of more of like an up-tempo jammer.
Yeah, it's got a gallop to it.
Yep.
Now, I will say I think the guitars should have started getting bigger here. They get bigger, again, later on in the album, but this was one because a gallop, I like hearing that driven chug. I mean, like, if you're going like that classic rock gallop, like Barracuda. Hearts Barracuda has, like, one of the best gallops out there. But the guitars are up in the mix. That's driven by that chug. The guitars are a little bit back here, but this song is still really good. And this is probably like one of the shorter tracks on here, too.
Yes. And again, the problem with the guitars is they're just simply overpowered by the vocals. The vocals are very out in front in the whole front half of the record. And like he said, too, it would be cool if they would have come up here because the guitar work on this song was phenomenal.
Definitely reminded me a lot of early Iron Maiden, especially like the Paul Di'Anno years, actually. It was just still very raw sounding, you know, still kind of close to like just a rock tone, but there was a little bit something extra there. That's kind of what I wanted out of this track. Now the next one, Carry On, as soon as I heard the intro to the song, I just thought of every 80s montage I could have. It's a very poppy track. It kind of reminds me of Journey a little bit, even though I don't like Journey, but it does remind me of Journey, and I didn't hate it. It's poppy, but in a good way.
It reminded me of the movie Flashdance.
I could totally see that. Like, in terms of, like, pop, I don't like modern pop, like, at all. But
either.
80s pop was creative, because you actually had a lot of really good musicians writing it. And this is what I got. It's kind of like an inspiring, uplifting song. Yep. The chorus is gigantic. And you want to sing along, even though you don't know the words.
Right. And 80s montage music, to me, is just fucking spectacular. Some of the most feel-good songs out there, I think, came in the wave of 80s montage music, which is where this was going. And again, too, a lot of times in this album I wanted to sing along, but didn't know the words. I will soon, though, because I'm going to jam the ever-loving shit out of this album.
And I like the fact that it's carried by, like, kind of a disco beat here, and there's, like, little spots of electronic drums, you know, that classic electronic drum from the 80s sound. And I had to make note that, these guys are Swedish as fuck, but so is ABBA. And ABBA is kind of in this just a little bit, at least in terms of the uplifting feel and the driving disco rhythm. I absolutely love this track, and this is where the album just started getting brilliant.
Yeah. And this is where the vocals and the guitars became a little bit more evenly mixed, and even the guitars were out a little bit more in front of the song.
It was a little bit more heft to them, more of just a solid rock tone.
Yeah, it had just a little bit like more beef to it. It wasn't as hollow feeling as the front half was.
The first big epic we're greeted to, and there's some nice big long songs towards the end. Labyrinth of Distant Echoes. The giant lead in here, we have these choir synths and then the isolated vocals. It really reminded me of like Highlander.
Reminded me of Europe.
Yeah, Europe.
Like the beginning of the Final Countdown, kind of. It was almost epic like that.
Queen. I mean, it's a brilliant lead in, and then when the rest of the band comes in, this song just gets nasty. But like heavy in a different sense. Heavy in terms of how like big and layered it is, especially with the guitars coming up in the mix.
It was almost like when you got to the chorus, it was almost like a folk gallop kind of thing. Like, it was really cool. And the lead in this song, the guitar lead in this song, is kind of the first time where it really appears as out front as it does. And it's just this huge, like, massive melodic.
I loved it. Again, just lots of feel in it. Like, it just feels epic and huge.
Like the organ synth in this song.
I love the classic Hammond organ sound. That's just one of my favorite sounds as far as like keyboards. The giant proggy bridge toward the end here.
Melodic, it's very pretty, harmonized.
And the transitions are just buttery smooth.
You don't hear him fighting for anything as
No.
far as where the song's gonna go. It's just like
Everything
butter,
serves
dude.
the song. And this was where I kind of came to this thing where, even throughout the album, I wasn't surprised that the variety on this album in terms of songwriting styles, in terms of different kinds of atmosphere, like you can go from sort of dark and sullen and almost like a dirge to a giant space rock epic to something almost kind of neoclassical. This album will take you on a journey, and if you're just a fan of music, I think you could probably get into this.
And then we have Blinded by the Emerald Mist, which again was a song that I starred. The intro builds in this song incredibly well. I feel like I keep talking about intros building incredibly well, but I mean, this is everything I would want out of a song.
The vocal build-up.
Like this. The vocal build-up is huge. I get reminded of like really early Journey, too.
Very old-school prog,
Yep.
but driving hard rock backbone.
Reminds me of the band Camel. And also a little bit of Mystic Crew of the Clearlight revival. I got that too. There is like a little rocky part that's in there that just reminded me of that sort of sound.
This one got really spacey too. I thought it definitely had like the Hawkwind vibe to it. Love the atmosphere on the song. Love the atmosphere on this entire album. But again, this whole back half was just simply incredible. Closing track, Fading Hero. I wanted this song to go on for like another 10 minutes,
Yep.
and this is an 8-minute plus song.
Yep. He was like, "Oh, this is 8 minutes," and it doesn't feel like 8 minutes, and it does feel like you want it to go on. Like I was upset when it ended.
Yeah, I wanted more. I really did.
The way the parts fit together in this song, it was just like every single thing that they touched as far as moving on to a different segment was just perfect.
This was the one that really just reminded me flat out of Yes in terms of the song construction. It was written in movements.
Yeah.
And that intro that's very much like Flash Gordon.
It's 80s as fuck.
Oh my god.
Flash Gordon also reminded me of like John Hughes films, Breakfast Club and
yeah, I mean
16 Candles, like
anything
that
80s.
kind of, yeah.
I love how this song closes. It pretty much breaks down into this beautiful bass line comes along. It just kind of carries this.
Yep.
The guitar harmonies come in, and it just gives you this giant space rock outro.
This really like groovy mid-tempo section into that giant space rock.
And the robot vocals that come in.
The robot vocals were a good touch.
This is how you close an album. And honestly, when I heard this, the first thing I thought of was, I want to see this band's record collection because I imagine it's fucking epic.
These guys, I think, would be a good time to sit down and chit-chat with.
Yeah. Like overall, this just reminded me about when I fell in love with music as a child, like going through my mom's records, listening to Deep Purple and early Genesis, all that stuff, and like the waves of nostalgia. And nostalgia alone isn't enough to really carry it on, but my God, the songwriting on here is fantastic. The transitions are amazing. Like, this is one of my legit surprises for this year.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with this record. It took me places while we were both jamming it, and I could just see running through my head scenes in 80s movies and a sound that I think has been absent for too long in music.
Overall, I'm giving this 4.5 stars. This is a banger. Not the heaviest banger.
No,
but
not at all.
My God, it is just excellent music. Just flat out, this is beautiful songwriting. This is just, there's passion to this.
Yeah.
You can really just sense it.
Yep.
And as far as like all the retro movements and such, this is the kind of album that would really keep that alive, because these guys clearly had a wide wheelhouse of different things they were listening to and that really influenced them, and my God, they executed. Like, none of this felt borrowed.
No.
This felt like
Yeah, unlike a couple things we've reviewed recently. This felt like a culmination of all the bands we mentioned, plus this band's own unique take on it.
Yeah.
Like, it really was very creative. I am also going to give it 4.5 stars. It just was such a beautiful, brilliant listen. I had fun. This album kind of spoke to my soul almost. There were times where I was jamming where I'd just get goosebumps and I'd be like, dude, well
I was right
done.
there with you on that one.
You know, and I might have even ventured out to say 5 stars had it not been for the vocals and the being too high. That was my only gripe.
Yeah, that was about it.
And the fact that this album was only 7 tracks. They could have easily put another 10 tracks on the album that I would have looked forward to.
Throw another 10 minutes on that last song.
Yep.
I didn't want it to end.
Yeah.
Excellent album. Definitely check it out. I'm definitely going to check out the rest of their back catalog.
Yeah, me too.
I'm thoroughly a fan now.
Yeah, when I go home tonight, I'm going to definitely dig more into these guys.
So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because if you subscribe now, you're entered in our giveaway for a Cryptopsy hoodie. Once we hit 1,000 subs, we're going to do a little sub randomizer thingamabob, and 20 lucky people are going to get one. We are at, I think, 969 right now, so
like that,
getting close.
Thank you so much for your continued participation. You know, I've spoken to several people today that said they're, you know, enjoying the fact that we put out content and give you guys something to do, especially during this time period where you probably don't have shit going on. So
I'm watching a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, dude, I've done nothing for days but watch YouTube videos and troll people on Facebook. So
this is how we kill time. Either way, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again soon.
Take care, guys.